Hola, chicas. Welcome to episode 26, How to Feel Better About Yourself by Dressing for Your Body Type Today. Let me just start by saying to you guys that, most of my adult life, I teetered between a size 2 and a size 4, and I wore a size small, even post-pregnancies. So when things started to change and I couldn't properly fit into my clothes anymore, I just felt horrible. I didn't feel my best. I didn't feel that I looked good. And this led me to not operating at my best. And then it finally hit me. I needed to reassess my wardrobe and only keep the things that fit my current body type. Now, I know that I'm not alone, right? I know, right? So I decided that I had to invite a guest with styling expertise who could not only help me, but she can help you so that we could do better and feel better. And I connected with style maven Michele Nidiffer, who has been in the style coaching business since 2008. She is a master style coach, founder of the StyleFinder Boutique, creator of the online course entitled How to Find Your Signature Style, and she is the host of the Style by Mary Michele Podcast, and soon to be author of the upcoming book, How to Wear Color with Confidence. So clearly, Michele knows style. We had a very informative conversation about dressing for your current body type and how there is really a connection between style and confidence. We also talked about the evolution of one's personal style, and once you dress for yourself, you don't need external validation. Michele is on a mission to empower women through personal style and help them discover how beautiful they really are. So are you ready to be inspired to get dressed and be more confident? I hope so. So let's just jump right into the interview. Hi, Michele. How are you?
Hey, Bree, I am fabulous. How are you?
Doing well. Thank you so much for joining me today. I'm excited to have this conversation all about style. So are you ready?
Oh, I am so ready, girl.
Excellent. Excellent. So let's start by just letting people know who you are and what you do professionally, and then we'll kind of go from there. Just give it a little snippet and then we'll go from there.
Just a little snippet. Well, in a nutshell, I'm a master style coach, founder of StyleFinder Boutique. I'm actually in the process of being trained as a life coach. And I have my husband and I are we are a blended family and a second marriage, and we have 4 kids between us.
Wow. So 4 kids. So I'm sure your household is hopping all of the time. What are their ages?
Oh, well, our youngest is 16. And so the 3 oldest are actually out of the house now, but still, like, there's always something.
So 3 out of the 4 are out of your home.
Yes. Yeah.
Wow. Okay. Well, we'll have to come back and talk about that, those dynamics, because I'm sure that was a shock to your system to have everyone home at one point, and then, like, did they all leave within like a year or 2 of each
Well,
other?
yeah, our 3 are stair steps. So we've got 19, 20, and 22, but yeah, they
Wow.
graduated within a year of each other, and we were like,
Wow.
what just happened?
Right. Right. I find that happens where it's literally a shock to your system when you're just so accustomed to having a very busy household and it's buzzing all the time, and then all of a sudden it's, down to 1.
It's a whole different ballgame.
Yes, I'm sure. So, style coach. So, what does a style coach do? What do you identify as your responsibilities?
Yeah, well, I would say my mission, my passion is to empower women through personal style.
Okay.
I think I grew up thinking that style was about the clothes, but style, the way I see it, is about who you become in the clothes.
Mm-hmm.
And style comes from the inside out. It's not just, ooh, you've got on a red blazer, you've got on this label, or you've got on designer. It's about your mix.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Anybody could walk into a department store and say, hey, I want to wear that entire outfit that's on a mannequin.
Right.
But it's when you carefully cultivate a style that makes you feel more like yourself,
Right.
that really works for
Yeah.
you. That's powerful.
Right. Um, I can see that because when I look at just over time, I look at friends and who is able to walk into a department store or purchase something online and really put something together that represents them, where you can see it and go, that's them. But others who are more into buying everything designer, but then you look and you're like, but something's not working, right? It's not fitting you. And I don't mean in terms of tailoring. I just mean in terms of the garments themselves, like, right, the style of the items themselves. It's like looking at something on a mannequin and going, oh, I love that, but it doesn't work for you, you know?
Right.
So I guess that's where you would come in, right? So
Yeah,
how do
really.
you work with someone who says, you know what? Okay, I've got a point. So one of my future podcasts is going to be about being stuck in the past. So how do you work with women who say, well, I believe this is my style because I've been doing this for 10, 20 years.
Sure.
But we
Well,
know things change, body types change and all of that. So how do you get that person to look at themselves today and not feel badly?
Well, you honestly, usually by the time women come to me and ask for help, they're ready to make a change. They
Okay.
know, okay, this isn't working. I'm ready to do something different.
Mm-hmm.
So I think most women hit a wall, where you wake up and you look in the mirror and you're like, who is that looking back at me? You
Yes.
don't recognize yourself anymore. You get dressed and you're like, oh, your whole energy, it's your way of being.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that when you get there, you're like, I need help. And when you recognize that you need help and you ask for it or you seek out resources, you're a little bit more open. It's not me saying, oh, I think you need help. It's them, it's clients, it's women coming to us and saying, I'm ready. I'm ready. And so we've created quite a few different ways. We've got clients all over the world. I have virtual courses where women can take, I've got a great course that we just came out with called How to Find Your Signature Style. And it is, it's less than the cost of a shirt. And for the less than the cost of a shirt, you can understand your best colors, your body type, your style. I've got a whole assessment or quiz in there that you can take to give you some answers. And I like to say that it helps you build your foundation. Because what I've found is that most women, they think they look in their closet and they say, I have got all these clothes in here, right? Why can't I get dressed? And they feel guilty or they feel bad. And they're like, I've spent all this money. But what I found is that most women have too many clothes, but they don't have the right clothes. And they don't have the right clothes because most of us don't grow up being taught how to build a wardrobe.
Right.
Some of us,
how do you build a wardrobe?
girl, let me tell you. Well, you start with the key pieces that I put in our course. Really, it's uncovering, okay, let's start with your color. Color is the first thing that people notice. It is a powerful tool. And I will tell you that yellow is incredible on you. That's
Thank you. So I've chosen well.
Yes, you have. The color can light you up or it can bring you down. And it can actually, so many people don't understand this, but it's got psychological effects. It can boost your mood. And so on a day where you're feeling kind of blah, to get up and put on your black or your gray or neutrals, that might keep you in that feel. I know I'm all about some neutrals and I love black. Don't get me wrong. But I think if you're in need of a mood booster or a little energy boost, color is a wonderful tool to do that.
Right.
And so I start with finding a couple of your best colors. Most women have no idea what colors to wear. And I like to say that if you look at your coloring, I start with your skin color, your hair color, and your eye color. It's like a roadmap. We already possess our best colors on our body. But most women want something completely opposite. Most women, so many women are looking at other people and saying, well, that looks good on her. I should be able to wear it. And they don't realize, well, it's not right for my coloring or my body type or my style or something. There's something different. So I start with color because it's the most easily recognizable change. And I think it's something that you're going to put on color anyway. I make it work for you and not against you.
Right. Yeah. And actually, so I know, of course, color is important. I see it myself. I also love wearing black, right? I'm from New York originally, so,
yeah.
I wear black
lots of black
all the time. I looked in my own wardrobe recently and I thought like, oh my God, most of my clothing is black. I need to switch this up a bit. I need to start injecting some color, and I know that it definitely makes a difference. So it's like adding those pieces that are key, and those are statement pieces. But what about the woman who is looking online and looking at, as you can see, like you're getting bombarded by so many different versions of advertisements, and it's not just from brands themselves or designers themselves, it's also from influencers, right? It's just constant.
Sure, sure,
How does one know what's right for them, right?
sure, sure.
Because, like how would you go about helping a woman decide this is for me?
Right, right. Well, as I mentioned, start with knowing a few of your best colors.
Mm-hmm.
And then the next thing is your body type.
Mm-hmm.
This is key. I think one of the biggest mistakes American women make, I can't speak to worldwide, but I would say American women are not dressing for the body they're in right now.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Maybe we're dressing for the body we used to have before
Right.
kids or before menopause or before you hit a certain age,
Right.
or before COVID. And a lot of women are still trying to wear the same thing and making themselves wrong because it doesn't really work. Well, I should lose 20 pounds. They don't go buy the new clothes. They keep themselves in this like funk. And they're trying to cram themselves in the jeans that just don't fit. And I tell you, I mean, there is nothing worse. I'm sure you can attest to this at some point in your life, Brie, when you try to wear a pair of jeans and they're too tight.
Oh, yes.
Oh,
And you have like spillage.
I know, it's like it's a recipe for a bad mood. Like if you walk out of the house feeling great wearing jeans that give you a muffin top or
Right.
squeeze you in some way, good luck.
Right.
And so really understanding, stepping back, getting away from the judgment. I think we women like to make ourselves wrong or find the flaws, pick ourselves apart.
Right.
And so I think that the magic happens when you can step back without judgment, take off the judgment glasses and say, what is my body type? And if you don't know, I'll walk you through that in our course, but really understand what is your body type, what's good for you, what isn't necessarily the best cut for you. And a couple of things I would start with, even if you don't know what your body type is understanding where you're largest. And some women might hear that and go, oh, well, I'm large everywhere.
Everywhere, right?
Okay. No, let that go because you're not.
Right.
What is your biggest challenge? And typically what I hear from women is their bust line. Maybe it's their tummy. Maybe it's their booty or their hips and thighs. Some women are challenged with their arms. And so there's no judgment around any of it because when we go live, we do a lot of Instagram lives. And when we go live, we have women on there from all over the world, all over. And they're all asking questions. And I found we're all the same.
Yeah.
Somebody will say, I've got a muffin top. Oh, me too. 25 people will have a muffin top. Like, see, nobody's alone. And I think it's when we realize that, oh yeah, we all struggle with something at some point in our lives. And there's no shame in it. There is no shame. But I think when we can honestly and fearlessly assess where are we largest, fit that first. Because I guarantee you, when you can fit that first, say if you go shopping and your bust line's your largest point, if you go shopping and you fit that first, and because if it doesn't fit in the bust line, it's not going to work. But if you fit that first, then you determine, well, is it too baggy in the waist or does it fit in the waist or can I have it tailored? Because if you fit your challenging area first, what I like to call your considerations, there are no flaws. Truly. But when you fit your considerations first, everything just falls into place, or it's obvious that it's not going to work for you. But the other thing I like to encourage women to do is find one thing you love about yourself or your body. And it's so interesting because I have that on my questionnaire. When I work privately with my clients, it's on my questionnaire. I want you to tell me 3 things that they like about themselves and 1 they're not crazy about. And women always tell me, I have 3 things I don't like about myself. And it's hard to find something I like. I'm like, okay, let's reframe. And so have a little bit of a reframe. And so you might say, hey, I've got great shoulders, or I've got great legs, or I've got gorgeous hair like you do. What can I do to play up my assets? And when you do, let's say you wore a cobalt blue or something that's really going to draw the focus to your hair. People are going to be like, oh my God, Brie, your hair is, I mean, your hair is amazing anyway, but
Thank you.
it's going to amplify that effect. And then you're like, what? I need to, I know I've had this experience before. I'll tell you this. I mean, this is when I really learned the power of color. And it was when I've been a style coach for about 15 years. And I first became a style coach. I was a busy mom. I had my 2 kids in tow. I was in need of a hair color. I was in need of a haircut. And I was in the grocery store one day and I had put on this new brown coat that I'd gotten. It was the same color as my hair. And I had on this brown scarf that had gold threads in it. And I had literally 3 people or 4 people come up to me and say, your hair looks amazing. And the first one, I'm like, what? Girl, like my roots are showing.
Right.
It just was not looking good. And then I realized, oh yeah, it's the power of color. Because when you wear your hair color, it can really make your hair look more luminous and gorgeous. And
Right.
especially on days where you need a little bit of a lift.
Right.
And then the gold threads picked up my highlights.
Okay. Yeah, I can see that. I can see how that would work. Yeah, I'm trying to envision it as you're describing the situation. Yeah, I can see that. So it sounds like a big part of this is lack of confidence, right?
Mhm.
So I've noticed that a lot of the women who I speak with, as they get older, and I'm not talking old, I just say as they mature, right? At different levels. I don't care if you're in your 20s, 30s, 40s, as you start aging, life is, kind of taking over in so many different respects. The confidence level changes. And especially as you kind of edge towards that 45 plus age range, things start to change. So I'm listening to what you're saying, and I'm just wondering if a big part of, like when you ask your questions, first thing people are doing, they're thinking about the negative things. They're not talking about their best assets, right, or their best features. They automatically go to the negative things. How do you work around that? Because that's a psychological thing. So style and fashion, that can help enhance someone's overall opinion of themselves. But how do you get to the core, and how do you change the core through what you do?
Well, that's really where the coaching starts. But I think we're kind of brainwashed in a lot of ways. I think we as women are up against so many messages against her from the fashion industry, the beauty industry, telling us, we need to be thin, we need to be thinner, we need to be younger, we need to be something that we're not. And so I think a really big piece of it is really helping women understand you don't need to lose 20 pounds or look younger or dye your hair or get the lashes or get the whatever to be beautiful. You're already beautiful. And it's just really helping them understand that, helping them to see their beauty and then playing it up with the clothes. And it's so magical when I have a client in the boutique and they get in the fitting room and they've taken the assessment, StyleFinder ID assessment, and they really understand what their style is. And they put on an outfit that's really suitable for them. It's their best colors. It's in their best silhouettes. It's in their style. And they come out of the fitting room and it's like, oh my God, like this is who I am. And it's like, they're so much more than themselves.
Right.
And it's just, that's what boosts your confidence. But I think first of all, we have to chip away at those limiting beliefs and get away from that and say, okay, we're not going to listen to that. And I think it's interesting because I actually had a retreat, a style reset retreat this past weekend. And one of the messages that kept coming up was that, well, a couple of different things. One, I think a lot of women feel, especially over the age of 40 or over the age of 50, different ages, that they should be invisible, that they shouldn't stand out, that they should kind of fade into the background. But the other thing was, things that we were told as young girls, a lot, several of the women who attended this weekend, their style was dramatic. And I know I struggled with this myself because I'm dramatic, romantic, and classic. And I think there's this message of you don't stand out, don't be, don't try to be anything better better or bigger or louder or faster than anybody else.
Mm-hmm.
And just try to be the same. You don't want to stand out. Don't draw attention to yourself. Well, for somebody who's born to be dramatic, you're born to stand out. You're born to be different. You're born to draw attention to yourself inherently because you're here for a purpose.
Mm-hmm.
And so if you're fighting this internal struggle between, well, I've always been told never to stand out, not to draw attention to myself, yet every fiber of my being wants to, it causes a lot of conflict. So yeah, so we look at that and really excavate what's really what's underneath, what's underneath the surface, and then really talking about who do you want to become? Who do you want?
That's a big question, right?
Yeah.
Right. So it's like, I believe everyone has a vision for themselves, and whether you believe you can actually bring that to life is a different story, right? But if you have that vision, it's more or less, who do you want to be? Mm-hmm. I know I have that vision.
Yeah.
I definitely have that vision. But when I look at myself, I'm going, yeah, you probably shouldn't dress like this and like that because of, I look at the height situation. Okay, what types of pants should I be wearing? And it's a whole thing. So yes, I fall in there some way, not in terms of the lack of confidence necessarily, but in terms of like style evolution, and trying to figure out, who am I today? Who do I want to be today? And I think that's important.
It's when you can really look into the future and say, where am I going? Who do I want to be a year from now, 5 years from now, 10 years from now? Because that's your evolution. That tells you, that's kind of like your map. Okay, here's where I want to be. Here's where I am now, but here's where I want to be. And it's when you can start, it doesn't mean you're going to look like that woman today necessarily, but when you're moving towards that, it just helps you to step into that vision, that role. You manifest that, like you become that.
Right.
And your style, it's not about, as I mentioned before, it's not about just what you wear, it's who you become.
Right.
And so as you elevate, as you get to the next level, whether you're professional, whether you're retired, whether you're stay at home, whatever you do, there is always a next level. And I think a lot of women, somebody asked me recently, in fact, I have on my podcast, I had an episode that came out fairly recently about age. Does age matter when it comes to your style? Because I have had women ask me over the years, I'm 55 or I'm 65 or I'm 75. Should I still invest in working with you on my style? I'm like, as long as you're living and breathing, like get to have great style. It's not about me. It's about, you being the best version of yourself.
And I think interesting that they would ask that question.
I know.
As if they're accepting society's view of women at a certain age becoming obsolete. Like they're okay with that because that's what society has said. That's
Absolutely
amazing to me.
Yeah. And it breaks my heart, but I'm like, this is the work I'm here to do.
Right.
To help women know that you're worthy, no matter what your age, your weight, your size, like you are worthy.
Right.
Just because you are, not because of what you do, but just because you're here.
Right. Right. So I'm listening to this segment that you're speaking about, and I'm thinking that your boutique, StyleFinder Boutique, has to play an important part because someone can purchase tons of clothing online. I mean, I do. But if you're going into a boutique and you're getting the assistance from someone like you, where you could say, this is what I've done forever, and you coach women around different areas, not just, how to purchase clothing, but also, like you said, shopping for their body types. That's got to make a big difference. The fact that you are on the premises, you're able to show them directly what works for them. So item A that they've been purchasing for 20 years in terms of the type of garment. So if it's a big tunic top, let's say, and it's covering everything, well, no, your shape is in this, pear shaped, you should be wearing this. Let me show you how. That could be that missing piece for a lot of women, right? Someone to care.
Right.
And someone to show them what works better for them so that they can start to pay more attention to style and what fits them well. And then they can feel better. I think there's so many things that are interconnected,
Absolutely. Well, you're totally right. And when we started StyleFinder Boutique 7 years ago, that really was our mission, to bring that, because there's so many places where women can shop in person. and not get good customer service, or you can get great customer service, but somebody might not be able to guide you to have that guidance or expertise. But we're actually in the process of phasing out our retail store. And because our online presence has grown so much, and we now have clients, we only ship to the US, but we have clients all over the US, and we have several virtual services where we can help style somebody. But what we've done is we have an app where it's called StyleFinder Boutique, and we do live shows twice a day, Tuesday through Friday, and then one on Monday. And whether it's myself or some of the other girls, we are always talking about, here's how this fits, here's what body type this is good for. And we've gotten to know our clients as they shop with us, or as they do a virtual teal box, which is our personal styling service, and we see them online, we know, oh yeah, here's your hair color. Oh yeah, and they'll ask, is this going to work for me? I've got this consideration. I just did a live this morning, and people were asking, will this fit me with broad shoulders? Well, here's my bust size. Is this going to work? And so we're on there trying to guide women as much as possible in a virtual atmosphere. And we also have just, we've put a free resource on our website. It's called How to Master Online Shopping.
Okay.
And it's just a quick little video that with some of my best tips, because I come from a dressmaker background. I was a designer, a dressmaker. I'm now a style coach, and I've owned a retail store. And with all that experience together, I see that it's like, I wish that all these industries would talk to each other a little bit more, because there are a lot of gaps.
Right.
But I also think that when you're shopping online, there are certain things I look for, and I really walk you through, here's what you want to pay attention to. And so find a trusted resource where you can find like a fit model who, well, if she can wear the clothes, they're going to look good on you, or someone that you can relate to, or who's going to guide you in the right direction. Because there are 1,000,001 places online you can shop, but it's when you can find a resource that you can go to over and over and over again.
Right.
And it doesn't mean that's the only place you shop, but it does mean that that there's some consistency in the feedback you're giving, or you're given, as well as the garments that you purchase.
My mind is spinning, because I'm thinking, wow, you really have been in this industry in many different respects for a long time.
Yes.
That's impressive, because you don't really find too many people who don't move around, right? I'll put it that way.
Yes.
Because many of us have many different interests, but it sounds like you've got different interests, but within the same industry. So you've been able to capitalize upon that. I mean, you're just like a wealth of style information.
Well, it's just, it has been a journey, and your journey, everybody's journey unfolds differently. And,
Right.
one thing has led to another. And, I started out making hats and custom wedding gowns.
Wow.
And I used to make custom clothing. And so that experience allowed me to be a better designer. And then being a designer and knowing how the construction and the fabrics, that allowed me to be a better buyer for the boutique.
Right.
And then being a style coach I used to get out and shop personally in stores with clients. I don't do that anymore. But seeing what's out there and knowing what women really need, seeing that gap. There are a lot of gaps out there.
Wow.
And so it's helped us to bridge that gap and know where women need the most help.
Right. So how did you get started making hats and wedding gowns? Did you have a family member who taught you and introduced you to really?
Well, I take that back. I mean, my mom taught me how to sew.
Okay.
She taught me how to sew at a very young age. And I remember she used to quilt. She still quilts. Well, she doesn't quilt as much. My mother-in-law now quilts, but she used to have these big bags, fabric scraps. And I would play with them, and I used to play with my Barbies. And so I would get out my needle and thread, and I would start, she would help me make some clothes for my Barbies. And so I started designing, and I remember I was probably, 5 or 6 years old. And I just remember this like divine knowing of like, you're going to be a designer. Wow. And I just knew, I'm like, okay, that's my path. And then, of course I told my dad, and he's like, how much money can you make doing that? Always the pragmatist.
Right.
And then I went along with that path, and my degree is actually in what's called apparel arts from UNC Greensboro, which was the closest thing at the time to fashion design. My
Right.
family did not want me to go to New York City, which oh my God, I love. In fact, we're going next week, but it's been a journey. And then I think when I started sewing, I've always sewn. I mean, I remember when I went off to college, I'd come home or every once in a while when I would come home on a weekend, I'd sit down. The first thing I would do is I would make something for myself because I didn't have a sewing machine at school until, later in the end. But I love to sew. It was just this creative expression for me.
Wow.
And it just evolved. I've always loved to wear hats.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know, it's interesting because I had a good friend in college who took some millinery classes, and I love to wear hats, but I didn't really want to learn how to make them. And so it wasn't until later, I really cannot tell you what got me into it. It just kind of evolved.
Okay.
And I think because it was something that was small.
Right.
And then I showed them to a friend asked me, she worked in a restaurant and she had to wear a hat. And she asked if I would make hats for her and then for all the staff, and one thing led to another. And then, I started selling hats around the country, and then that evolved into clothing. And it was just, following the breadcrumbs, following the path, following the breadcrumbs. And I opened my first retail boutique in 1996, which I'm totally dating myself. But I only had that for 2 years because I didn't really intend to. It just kind of happened, and it was just not well thought out, didn't really have a plan, and I didn't know what the heck I was doing. And then I didn't have the support that I needed necessarily. And so I realized I can't be all things to all people. And I got married that year. And I launched a wholesale line. So I was doing like all the things. Like, I'm just going to go crazy. I'm young, but I wasn't,
Right.
So anyway, I focused on the design, and it just, it led me to what was next and what was next and what was next. And so here I am.
Okay. And now with all that you've done, working and being a master style coach, now you're headed towards life coaching. So what's kind of encouraged that? I mean, I can only imagine, right? So working with all these women and listening to them and knowing that a lot of the issues that they have are much deeper than just how do I get dressed where I feel great. But I'm curious to know what's making you make it's not even a transition. I was going to say
No,
transition,
it's
but I know
definitely not a
it's kind of doing
transition.
both, right?
Well, it's not even both. It's combining. It's taking the style coaching to a deeper level. So I'm not just going to coach somebody on, life coaching. It's combining the two to really take it deeper, because I think because that's my story. My story really started with struggling with confidence and self-esteem and my weight and what I made that mean, and, all the things. And I started working on myself from the inside out. So I always like to say it's, a makeover isn't just on the outside. It's for it to be lasting, it's got to be from the inside out. And even though I did the work on myself, I didn't really have the tools that I wanted to have to help women as deeply as I know they need or want to be helped. I can help them get dressed. I can help them figure out who they are. But it really wasn't until I started incorporating the life coaching piece that I'm like, okay, now this is the magic. This is the secret sauce. Because I can bring, my however many years of style to what's really going on underneath the surface, because that's what drives us, right?
Right.
It's what we think about ourselves and what we believe about ourselves and all these internalized beliefs. And it's really not until you can understand what's really going on that you can increase your confidence, feel better about, it's powerful. I'm like, oh my gosh, I have to do this.
Right.
So, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I could so see this, I can see this for you. So I'm going to stay tuned. So I can see the next stage in your personal evolution. Yes. So I have to ask you, So how does Michele dress? Like, do you get dressed every single day? Like, do you have down days where you don't want to get dressed up? Like, what does Michele do?
That's
How
a
do you
good
approach
question.
style?
That's a good question, especially right now, because I will tell you, my lifestyle has transitioned a little bit. Years ago, when we first opened the boutique, I was in the boutique every single day. And of course, I was getting dressed. But I will tell you, I have always loved getting dressed.
Okay.
And so that's just kind of me. I'm always one of those people who is accused of being overdressed.
Okay. I like that. That's a good compliment, or it's a good backhanded compliment.
Yeah, I remember I'd show up for Thanksgiving dinner, like, and everybody would be super casual and they'd look at me like, why are you so
Where are
dressed
you
up? I'm like,
going?
this is just me. Like, this is
Right.
what makes me happy.
Right.
But it's interesting that you asked that, because nowadays I'm spending more of my time working at home. I have a podcast, and so I'm doing a lot more things with that. I'm doing a lot more writing, content creation, things that are more behind the scenes. And if I am in front of the camera, then, obviously I put myself together most of the time. There are times where I get behind the camera with no makeup on. I'm like, it's not about being fake or putting on a costume. It's just about showing up in an authentic way.
Right.
And I posted something the other day where I had not washed my hair. I had not put on any makeup, and I didn't make a big deal out of that. I was like, this is just who I am. So,
Right.
but I have gone through this sort of transition, and it really depends on the seasons, because of course I'm a little bit more casual in the summer. But recently I've worn things around the house that are not, not that they're frumpy or schlumpy, because I don't do that. I just don't, like, if it makes me feel like that, I ditch it. I'm like, I don't care if nobody sees me in this. I don't feel good. But I've worn things that are a little bit more low key. And then if we go somewhere, I'm like, okay, I have to change. But it's interesting because I've kind of, I think every year, at the beginning of every year, I kind of go through this almost like style reset myself.
Okay.
And who am I now? Like, lots has changed. And, of course, as I get older, my body's changed a little bit. And then, I find myself wanting to wear different things. It's almost like a reinvention.
Okay.
And I've found myself getting a little bit more like kicking things up a notch, even just to sit at home and work. And I tell you what, I feel different when I do that. When I'm wearing a blazer, or I'm wearing I don't usually wear shoes when I work at home, but I will put on the jewelry and put on the things. I'm like, okay. And then that, I'm like, ooh, maybe I should go live today. Maybe I should shoot some more videos. And so I found that I feel more energized. I found that I feel better about myself.
Right.
I found that I'm creating more content when I do that, because not that my MO is like, okay, you got to be camera ready every day, but I want to present myself in a way that I feel good.
Right. It sounds like getting dressed the way you do also encourages you to be more creative and more productive, because like they always say, you don't, what do they say? Be ready so that you don't have to get ready. Right. So if you're already dressed and together, then if you want to go live, you can just do so. I do the opposite, right? Where I'm laid back and then I go, oh, this would be perfect. I should do a live about this. Oh no, I'm not dressed yet. Then I'd have to do this, A, B, C, D. And then I talk myself out of it, which doesn't make any sense. But I'm also impressed that you put on jewelry and everything. The most I got my little earrings on is the most I'm doing.
Some days I will say I usually wear bracelets, but if I'm live, I don't put my bracelets on because they get a little too messy.
Right.
So jewelry for me some days might just be earrings or maybe a necklace. But sometimes if I'm doing something, unloading the dishwasher between meetings or
right.
It just gets.
We can't stay still.
So if I'm in the house, I'm not as elevated as if I were leaving the house, but I'm trying to be more elevated than I had gotten into the habit of being. And it really will change how you see yourself. It's changed what I get done in a day. I'm like, ooh, I see myself now as, more productive, more professional, more on the ball. And you start to, and there is power in your self-image.
Right.
And a lot of times, and I have a love-hate relationship with this expression, but fake it till you make it. And I think that there is something to be said for if you're not feeling good, get up, dress up, show up, like put the outfit on, and then you're like, dang girl, like you're got it going on. And
Right.
it can help you to get out of a rut or feel a little bit better, see yourself as the woman you want to be.
Right.
But it's not just about the clothes. Like I said, it's not about the clothes. It's not like, okay, I'm gonna put the clothes on and then boom, I'm done.
It's like what the clothes do for you,
Yes.
you know?
Yes. It's
Do you
what they evoke from you.
Right.
Really.
Right. Do you find that because you elevate your style and your image often that you impact your friends? Does that encourage your friends or people you're around to
Oh
do
my gosh.
better?
Well, it's so funny. And people have said this to me for years. Like if I'm getting together with somebody for lunch or we're going out to dinner, women, and honestly, friends do it as well as women I'm maybe meeting for the first time. But they'll say, "Oh, I knew I was going to meet you." So like I put on my jacket or my
Right.
pearls or my necklace or I like. So I like to think that I inspire people to get dressed mindfully.
Right.
How about
Right.
that?
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
to not just throw on whatever. I like to think that they're doing it for themselves and not for me.
Right.
I'm not here to judge anybody at all. I'm just
Right.
here to be the best version of myself. And if me being the best version of myself inspires someone else to be the best version of themselves, I'm here for it.
Right. I mean, it sounds like you can't even have a bad day. People would just be so mortified. Like, what
Oh,
happened? Where's Michelle? Where's the makeup? Where are the
uh,
clothes? Like, what's going on?
yeah, this is the days you don't see me. I'm kidding.
Just stay hidden. Just stay
Like, oh
hidden.
yeah. But no, I mean, I like, I don't know if you could tell, like I'm having some menopausal breakouts on my face right now, but I talk about that. I'm like,
Right.
this is my issue right now. And who
Right.
else is struggling with this? And then, we all commiserate together. So
Right.
it's just, it's not, I don't show up on camera trying to pretend I'm anything I'm not. Some days, yeah, I'll put on a jacket when I wasn't wearing a jacket laying around the house, but I
Right.
love my jackets. Don't
Right. So, in addition to the lounging question, I'd love to know, so what about sleepwear? Do you pay
get
close attention to sleepwear as well?
my God. That's a great question because I will tell you I think the two areas I have been the most challenged with are sleepwear and activewear. And over the past few years, I have had to give myself a stern talking to when it came to sleepwear.
Okay.
Um, and even
So you're
in my
like the rest of us.
Yeah. Well, yeah, even in my first marriage, I had a few nice things when I got married, and then it was just all about the frumpy stuff. And I think part of it, my mindset was, nobody's going to see it. Who cares? Why does it matter? And anyway, over the past, I don't know, 5 or 6 years, I think since I've been remarried, it's changed. But really the past maybe 4 or 5 years, I cracked down on myself and said, it's got to go. It's got to go. If it does not make you, I mean, I have something I like to call the 5 Fs, the 5 Fs of fashion, 5 Fs of shopping. You can use it however you want. But if your clothes don't answer these 5 questions, and it's, what is it? Fit, function, feel. I can't remember the last one. And one is fabulous. Fit, function. I can never remember all 5 Fs. I have a whole podcast about it. I tried. Maybe just put it on my wall.
Right.
But essentially, if my sleepwear or activewear or whatever doesn't make me feel fabulous, it's gone. And so I have invested in some nice sleepwear for myself. I even bought a couple of matching robes and I'm very specific about the type. I love pajamas. I'm not a nightgown girl. I love my pajamas. And I'm very specific about the type that I want, the style that I want. And I don't buy a matching robe for everything, but I have a color palette that I work in. And yeah. So, and with my workout, my activewear, I need to update some of it. But we actually went through a phase and we carried some activewear at the boutique several years ago. And I have several pairs of workout pants that I love. And I've added to that, and I have a nice little collection now.
Okay.
So yeah, so whether I'm going to the gym or just, walking in the neighborhood, I'm like,
Right.
hey, I ran into somebody, great. I
Right.
don't have any makeup on if I'm working out, but
Right.
that's how I
But
roll.
that's okay. Yeah, I was just curious because I find that, there you have all these different aspects of your life that you
Mhm.
have to dress for, and you've named them, right? So whether you're working out, so you need active wear, sleepwear, lounge wear, everything. I'm like, that's just a lot. So it's like, where do you focus? You know what I mean? Because especially if
Yeah.
you feel that everything needs to be addressed, where does
Mhm.
one start? You know?
Start, well, keep it simple. And I would say start with what's going to give you the most bang for your buck first.
Mm-hmm.
And that's going to be with your clothes,
Mm-hmm.
what you wear day to day, because that's where, whether you see your family, whether you see your coworkers, whoever you see, that's where people are going to really start to notice. And then you're going to start to hear the compliments. And then that's going to give you that confidence boost.
Mm-hmm.
Even if you just start with color, ooh, I'm going to find out some of my best colors today. And then you start wearing them, people are going to be like, ooh, you look great today.
Mm-hmm.
I always tell clients the best compliment you can hear.
Excuse me, sorry.
I always tell clients the best compliment you can hear is not, wow, that's a great shirt, but oh my gosh, you look amazing.
Hmm.
It's when you hear a compliment about you. It's not about the shirt or the dress or the earrings, which, yeah, that's nice too. But it's when somebody looks at you and says, wow,
Mm-hmm.
you look beautiful today. It's about who you've become.
Right. And
And
I think your clothing can do that, right? If you
Mhm.
if you really have identified something that works with you, flows well, fits you well, all those things, you know it, right? As the person who's getting just or who's adorning
Yes,
the items, you know it. So you'll carry yourself differently, you'll speak differently, your posture will be different, all of that. So
right.
people will see it. And I think that when they're commenting and say you look amazing, it's all of those things
Yeah.
together that are making
Yes.
you be amazing or appeal to individuals. So
Yes.
the power of
Yeah,
fashion and style.
yeah. I mean, it's all tied together, but I think the cool thing that happens is when you dress for yourself
Mhm,
and you walk out the door feeling great, you don't need the external validation.
mhm,
It's always nice. And if somebody comes up and gives you a compliment, I always tell clients, all you need to do is say thank you. Do
mhm.
not diminish it. Don't, oh,
Right.
this jacket, like, oh, don't tell somebody you bought something on sale. Don't tell somebody you've had something for 10 years. Nobody cares. Just say thank you.
And women do that often.
Too
Oh, my
often.
butt. Oh, my hair, this. Oh, my nails don't look good. Or it's always something versus just that. Thank you.
Or they deflect it, like, nice jacket. Oh, I like your jacket too.
Right, right.
Right?
Right.
Instead of
That's
just
true.
saying thank you. I like to say, I like to say this because I've been taught this, but a compliment is like a gift. And when somebody gives you a gift, it's like saying, oh, no, thanks. I don't really want that. But when you can receive it, like, then they feel great. They're like, wow, I made her day. And
Right.
they feel really good. But if you're like, then you're like, oh, okay. Guess
Mhm.
she didn't really want to hear that.
Right.
But and so it's really try it, because when you practice that, it's powerful, and all you have to
Mhm.
do is say thank you.
Right.
But I think, especially, like, I grew up in the South, and we're just super polite, and not even polite. I don't even know what the word
Well,
is.
you're different than New Yorkers.
I think we Southern girls, it's like that good girl reputation. Like, well, if somebody
Right.
gives you a compliment, you want to give one back. Like, no,
Right.
no, no. You don't need to give anybody anything. Just say thank you. And that's the best gift you could give them.
Right.
But I think when you get up and you put on an outfit and you're like, ooh, I love the feel of this jacket, and these jeans make my butt look good, and you just
Mhm.
feel good.
Right.
And you walk out the door, you don't, I mean, it's not that you don't care that somebody gives you a compliment, but you're not looking for that validation,
Right. Because
because
you're so confident.
you've given it to yourself.
Right.
You validated yourself. And then when somebody says, hey, you got it going on, you're like, thank you.
Right.
You're
Icing
just like,
on top of the cake.
I'm in my element. Like, thank you. That's awesome. And then you're able to soak it up because you agree with them.
Right.
But on those days where you don't feel it and somebody gives you a compliment, you're like, oh, why did she say my hair looks good? Because it's really greasy today or whatever.
Right.
But then you're like, yeah. And that is the best gift you could give somebody. Like, when you're just basking in that, you're like, thank you. You made my day.
Mhm.
And I will tell people that sometimes, like, you just made my day.
Right.
And then that makes them feel good.
Yeah, it does.
And then I'm like, yeah, because I was feeling good today, and now you just you see it. And I like to think that, that helps them feel good in their day, and it's gonna give them more energy.
Right.
And so it's just like this gift that you just keep passing on.
Right. Yeah.
But it starts from within.
It does. It definitely does. That's why I love the style coach to life coach. I love that. I love that. So I heard earlier when you were talking about having had attract, I can't even speak. You have attracted a worldwide audience. And I think that that's amazing because it's kind of difficult to do that. I mean, you're in North Carolina, you have a retail boutique, but yet you're able to reach this massive audience. Because I did take a look at your Instagram. I didn't look at Facebook, but Instagram, I see that you have a following of over 211,000 people. So even though you don't ship items, and you're not able to really promote your clothing to individuals worldwide, it's amazing that you've been able to amass that type of following. What is your secret? divulge the secret.
Solving problems. Solving problems. And I've actually developed quite a following on my personal Instagram as well. It's Style by Mary Michele. And I think it's just doing what we do best. And it's helping women solve their problems and showing what we do. Here's how we help women wear color, what color to wear for brown hair, or what color do you wear for gray hair? What do you wear if you're a pear shape? And what do you wear if you're large busted? Or how do you tuck a blouse? Or what jeans are hot for women over 40? It's helping women understand that, what to wear, because I think that, there are so many resources out there for clothing, for style advice, but there are not very many resources out there who are helping women understand what to wear and how to wear it.
Right.
And oftentimes, if they're very targeted towards what's young and trendy.
Yes.
And I think women, 35, 40, 50, etc. Oftentimes, we've hit a point where our coloring has changed. As we get older, we lose pigment from our hair, skin, and eyes. Our body type has changed. Our lifestyle has changed. Or maybe we've been busy taking care of kids or taking care of aging parents, and we've just completely lost who we were. And you wake up one day and you're like, oh my gosh, I have no idea what to. That's the kind of why I even started this, because after having kids, I was like, oh my gosh, here I am, somebody who's been in fashion my entire life. I don't know what to wear. I've got my son in my arm while I'm trying to put my mascara on. Like, I've got no time. I don't know what to wear. Like, so it just, I think a lot of women feel like that. And women have walked in the boutique before and they throw their arms up and they're like, fix me. I'm like, nobody needs to be fixed.
Okay.
You're not broken.
All right.
But it just takes really kind of taking a step back and figuring out, where do I even start? And I think that's what's really resonated with our audience is we help them understand that style is for everyone. Style is easily attainable. It's not about the labels. And you don't have to be a size 2, and you don't have to be, 25 to look good.
Right.
That you can be beautiful at every age, every shape, every size.
Right. Well, it also, based on what you said, it seems like, so you're speaking to women based on the challenges that they believe they have.
Yes.
Versus I see with a lot of brands that are out there, they're pushing the clothing, right? And they're draping the clothing on size 2, people
6 feet tall,
like 13 years old.
Everything.
Right. Even if you're 25, you're not going to feel great. You're not going to be able to resonate with that individual. Right. So I like the fact that, you identify that these are the challenges that we all have. And this is how you can, minimize them or not see them as a challenge, but instead embrace them. And this is how you can, dress yourself. I think that that's a big difference, from you noticed.
It is a big deal. And some days I think it's just for women to get online with us and see that they're not alone.
Right.
They're not alone in their struggle. And, we really try to target, different pain points in our shows. You know, some of our shows are, you know, showing new arrivals, and some are talking, you know, about how do you create a color capsule, or how do you dress for a pair body type, or dress for a certain consideration area. And really helping women, meeting them where they are.
Right.
Because there's so many resources out there right now that are just overwhelming. And I remember I talk about this jokingly, but years ago, my mom threw a magazine at me, but not really at me, but she slung this magazine across the room. She's like, there is nothing in here for me. There's nothing in here I can relate to. And even though, you know, my mom's 24 years older than I am, but it just helped me to know, hey, there's a big gap out there. And at the time, you know, I was much younger, but at the time I'm like, yeah, I totally relate to this. And so we've been dedicated to creating resources to empower women, to help them see that, yes, you matter. Yes, you're worthy. Yes, you're beautiful. Yes, you can look good, and it doesn't have to be hard. So, you know, when I created our course, the How to Find Your Signature Style, I wanted something quick, easy, that is, you know, anybody could do. Anybody could go through. I mean, it's less than $50. It's super, super affordable, but yeah, that's our introductory price, but it is really designed to give women what I like to call the foundation. Because what I have found becoming a style coach, you know, after all my background, is that we don't grow up knowing the fundamentals of building a wardrobe. We don't grow up knowing what colors are right for us, or talking about body type, or knowing what our style is. And oftentimes there's a lot of trial and error, and sometimes you figure it out, and most times you don't. But I do know that the fashion industry is I don't know, multi-billion-dollar industry at this point. And that most women spend, I would say, well, the average American woman, I figured this out years ago, so I think it's probably more, but the average American woman spends roughly $300 a month on clothes. Roughly.
Wow, really?
Which, yeah. And if you think about your closet, like if you look at your closet and you think about what is in your closet, how much are you really wearing? So you've got this closet jam-packed with clothes, and you're wearing about 20% of it.
Yes.
And so over 3 years.
I'm guilty of that.
Yeah, I mean, we all can be.
Right.
But over 3 years, that's like you've got 10 grand in your closet. And if you're wearing 2 grand of it over and over and over, and what about the other 8 grand that, you know, that'd be a really nice trip somewhere, or a really nice appliance, or handbag. So I think
I have to admit, though, I like seeing the volume of clothing in my closet.
Well, I think most women do. It's like this security blanket, though. But I think it gives us this false sense of, yes, I have plenty to wear, but also it can create this feeling of almost shame. Like, I've spent all this money on clothes, but I still can't get dressed.
Right.
Why
Like
can't
you're still saying, I still don't have anything to wear, right?
Yeah. And I think a lot of women make mistakes because they have no idea. They haven't taken the time to create their foundation. And yeah, that's what I do with all my private clients. You know, that's where we start. We sit down and we look at your coloring, your body type, your style. I created our StyleFinder ID assessment in 2010. Actually, when I first met you, when I was working with Allie Brown. And I created that as a tool because women kept coming to me saying, I don't have a style. I don't know what my style is, or my style is all over the map. I'm like, everybody's got a style. And I think I've always had a strong sense of what my style was, but I never really had words for it until I created that assessment. And then I'm like, oh, now I know. And so it's really designed to help you know, like, if this is right for me, this is not. And now, because I used to look at some things that my sister would wear, and I love my sister's style. She's got fabulous style, but she's very different from me. What's most important to her is being on trend. What's most important to me is being, you know, dramatic, standing out, being unique, wearing, you know, things that not everybody else has.
Right.
And so we're almost polar opposites. And sometimes I would look at things she would wear and think, oh, I should wear that. And then I finally learned I can like it. And just because I like it doesn't mean it's right for me.
Right. Yes. I've learned to appreciate that. Where I can look at someone else's style and just go, oh, that's gorgeous. But when I try to envision it on me, it's like, no, it's not gonna work. I can appreciate it from afar.
Right. Right.
I do have a question for you though, with respect to your daughters, because
Mm.
given what you do, how has
Mm.
that impacted them? Like,
Oh, that's it.
because,
Yeah.
like with them being free, I would assume to figure out what their style is, or maybe you've helped them kind of shape what their style is. What were the dynamics there as they were growing up?
Well, it's interesting. Actually, with four kids, I would say all four of my kids.
Yeah, I know
So
you, but I just focused on the Girl Scout because I'm assuming that your son wasn't, and that's a bad assumption, right? So
well, I'll tell you about that in a minute, but it's
okay.
been interesting because, my stepdaughters have grown up, and I used to try to work with them and, okay, let's plan your wardrobe and let's clean out your closet and let's do this and let's do that. And it's interesting because they would look at me like, just roll their eyes like, oh, I really don't care. But I tell you what, one is 22. You know what she asked for her birthday this year?
Oh, what?
A color analysis.
Oh, wow. Okay.
She's picked up a lot over the years, but she's like, I finally want to know what. And I'm like, girl, this is the best time to do it, because as you get, as you step out into the real world, get out of college, she's still in college right now, but as you get out of college and start building your wardrobe, that is going to come. I mean, that's going to just help you so much. And then my other stepdaughter, she actually works with us at StyleFinder, and she kind of had to step her game up, a notch, because she was wearing leggings and a t-shirt. And so she came on board, and we're like, all right, you got to step it up a few notches. And she texted me one day, and I just will never forget this. She texted me and she's like, I just need a capsule wardrobe. I'm like, you did not just say that. I love it. But
Wow.
that shows me that they've been paying attention, and they see the value in what I teach, because
Right.
what I teach is timeless and really genderless. And then, my child just wears black all the time.
Okay.
And then my son, Dylan, he's actually 16. And it's interesting. And I'll talk about him just for a second, because he could care less what he wore the past few years. And I dressed him. Well, I pretty much up until this past year, I would pick out his clothes. And then all of a sudden he hit his sophomore year and he had an opinion about what he wore.
Okay.
And we went out and we went shopping, and he knew what colors, and I was able to kind of guide. He's a summer. I was like, okay, you need muted colors, which is totally what he wanted to wear. And I helped him put some things together. He's like, are you sure this go together? And helped him pick out some shoes. And he doesn't even wear jeans. He wears like khakis.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
But he wears khakis, like a t-shirt and a hoodie. So he's like a little casual, but not super casual. But he is very, very particular about what he wears. All of a sudden, like before it was like, okay, whatever's in my drawer, I'll put on. Now it's like,
wow.
So it's been interesting to see that evolution. And I talked to him because I took him out shopping for the fall, and we built him a capsule wardrobe.
Okay.
And I told him what we were doing. I was like, and you can do this, and you can wear this overshirt with this, do all these things. And he's like, okay, cool. Like all he wanted was
up.
make it simple. Yeah. Make it simple. And then sometimes he'll ask, can I wear those two colors together? But
he's growing up. He's growing up.
I know.
He cares now, right? I love that.
It's crazy.
So I'm just kind of recapping in my head all the things that you've done, and I'm starting to feel like a slacker. Between your masterclass, of course, your boutique, you've got a lot of, just very active social media presence. You've got your coaching, I mean, the retreat, so many different things. So dare I ask, what else? What's next? You've got so much going on.
Well, we do have something that we're working on right now. I can't really talk about it right now, but it's a resource that is going to be designed to be very helpful to a lot of women.
Okay.
And in a very interesting and affordable way. So,
all right.
My mission is to help more women. And there are a lot of things that I see in my experience, with my age, with my background, my expertise, and finding more ways to bring that into play. I've talked about doing some consulting with designers, with boutiques,
Mm.
coaching, helping other boutiques grow, because we built StyleFinder from the ground up, and
Mhm.
yeah, were there days where we were crying in our pillow? Yeah.
Mhm.
But we figured it out. And sadly, a lot of boutiques aren't as lucky.
Hmm.
And I feel very grateful for how far we've come. And yeah, a
Right.
lot of it, kudos to my husband. He's been amazing.
Excellent. Because I know having the support from your spouse
Well,
is,
it's not, everybody
so
says that.
significant.
Not just support though. He's actually the CEO of StyleFinder.
Oh, well, okay. Well, being in business.
Yeah.
with your spouse.
So he's technically my boss.
Right. But I mean, but either way, that works, right? It's just, I think it doesn't work when your spouse doesn't want you to be involved in this way, or your spouse is not. So when I say support, not necessarily financial, but it's more like emotional support, whether it's partnering with you or encouraging you to operate at your best, because
Right.
I've seen it the other way around, where it kind of, in one situation I'm thinking of, it ended up being the demise of a relationship, because the wife was like, I'm doing this with my business no matter what, and couldn't
It's had
handle it.
its moments. It's had its moments where it has
Yeah.
definitely challenged us. And
Right.
I think in a lot of ways, I'm involved in StyleFinder, but almost more of as like a consultant
Mm-hmm.
at this phase. I'm grateful for the team we've been able to build.
Mm-hmm.
We've got an amazing team, and they don't even need me.
Well, they say that that's when your business has gotten to a great point, right? When you can step away a little bit and it still moves forward.
Right. I mean, I'm still there to offer guidance and then assist with the buying, but I used to do all the buying. I don't even do that anymore. I'm like,
Right.
Meredith's got it handled. So,
Okay.
and we just have been Jim and I have just been very, what's the word? Intentional about hiring the right people and building a team. And we've got an incredible team. So,
Excellent.
and I think because of that, now I'm freed up to do more coaching, retreats, podcasts. I'm actually writing a book. I've got a book coming out in June.
See?
So proud about that.
Let me tell you, I'm leaving this even more inspired than when we started. And it's not about style. It's about getting my stuff together and just make all the things in my head that I've made lists about, make them happen. Like now's the time. So good for you.
Thank you.
So just to kind of close out, I'd like to see if you could offer women some advice about how to operate at their best by finding their style. So what are three bits of advice that you can give women to really figure out, like, how do you find your signature style and operate at your best and be your best? And how does that impact you?
Yeah. Well, first things first, stop comparing.
Mm-hmm.
I think women do that a lot. I used to do it a lot. And that completely, I think, eroded my confidence. Because if I was comparing myself to somebody else, like either she won or I won, like it was a win-win.
Yeah.
Or I'm sorry, it was a win-lose. Like it was not a win-win, and it was a zero-sum game. And it just left me either feeling like, totally not in a good, I wasn't focused on me. I was so focused on external. Who else? What else? Like what are they wearing? And does she look better? And do I look, it was just bad. It was just I had a lot of stuff I had to work through. So, but I think a lot of women do it, whether it's conscious or subconscious. And they look at their friends, or they look at Instagram influencers or magazines or wherever you get your inspiration. Well, she's taller than me. Well, she's thinner than me. You're beautiful just as you are. And so I think when you can get away and stop comparing, that's where the magic can happen.
Okay.
That's where you open up to, okay, what's great about me? Then I would say find one thing that's great about you. It could be you've got great hair, you've got great skin, you've got great legs, arms, whatever, and find something to play it up. Maybe you've well proportioned, you've got a great shape. Find something that's going to play it up. Because that's when you're like, ooh, I have something that I feel proud of, and now I get to show it off. And when I do that, I feel really good. And then other people will notice, and then they might say, hey, you look great today, and then that's going to boost your confidence more.
Right.
And it helps you to see, okay, I am beautiful. I just didn't see it before. and other people see it, so I need to see it too.
Right.
So, and then, I would say from there, look for inspiration to really help you uncover what your style is. A lot of things I talk about, we have a mini quiz that's part of the Find Your Signature Style course that really gives you one style word. And, it's like, it's, if everything is an option, then it's overwhelmed. But when you can narrow your focus to one word or two words, then you can say, okay, that's not for me. That's not for me. These are for me. This is where I'm going to focus right now. And if you start to really focus, then you can really start to see what you like. And, maybe along with that, create an inspiration board. Maybe you find a style icon. I've got a whole podcast about finding a style icon. Actually, I've got a whole podcast about how to find your style.
Okay.
Michele,
can you just tell everyone what's the name of your podcast?
Sure. The podcast is called Style by Mary Michele. Okay. And it's Michele with just one L.
And I'll put that in the
show notes.
Show notes. I had a momentary block. I'll put it in the show notes.
Yeah, but I've got a lot of resources on there. I look at my podcast as a resource library. I've got things on there about, how do you find a great fitting pair of jeans, or how do you get the perfect fitting pair of pants, or how do you wear pink, or how do you find your best, all of the things. And so I look at it as just a resource library. And I feel like every question that comes up, I'm like, ooh, there's a podcast for that.
That's true. Yeah. So, you got a lot of content. Actually, I mean, just in your comments and your engagement on social media, I'm sure that's great content for your podcast.
Yeah. So, but I would say find a style icon, start an inspiration board, create something visual that shows you, this is what I want to wear. And then when you start an inspiration board on, say, Pinterest, or it could be cutting pictures out, or Canva is actually a great place to do an inspiration board too. Clip your pictures or save your pictures and then just put them on there, and then you can print it out. It's going to help you know what silhouettes do you want to look for, what colors do you want to bring in, what do you want to see more of, what kind of jewelry, what kind of handbag, do you wear sunglasses, how do you wear your hair, like all the because we have a lot of choices. We have way too many choices. And it's when you can create something visual that you can look at, that you're like, oh, that's what I want to look like. And put it in your closet or put it in your phone. Remind yourself when you go shopping, what are you looking for? Because if you walk into a store and you have no idea what you're looking for, I guarantee you, you're probably going to walk out with another pair of black pants.
Yes. It's so funny. Even looking online, I found myself recently looking at things and going, everything that I have favorited is black. I have got to change. I am not buying another black item, just, it's crazy. I know I'm not alone though, but we're still having to change it up. Got to change it up.
You're not.
Well, Michele, this has been a great conversation. I'm so excited that you were able to join me today. And I'm quite certain that, all the listeners will get something, at least one little nugget that they can walk away from that's going to change their style game. So I truly, truly appreciate you joining me here today, because I know you're changing someone's life,
Thank you so much, Bree. It's truly been a pleasure to talk with you.
Excellent. Thank you. Take care.
You too.